Yeah, it's been a rough weekend. Well, anyway, welcome back to 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, really weird cinema edition. And let me take you back to 1973. And if there was a top 10 sleaziest exploitation films of all times, the Candy Snatchers from 1973 would be high at the top of the list. And this is a story about three scumbags who decide to kidnap a girl and hold her for ransom because her father works in a jewelry store and they want diamonds. So there's three in the gang. There's Eddie, who's a thug, Alan, who's a psychopath, and Jesse, who's another crazy bitch played by Tiffany Boyling, who has made a career of playing crazy bitches. And Candy is played by Susan Sennett, who went on to be one of Ozzy's girls on TV. So they had already dug a grave, and they grab Candy in a van after she gets out of school with a little schoolgirl outfit on. They throw her in the van, they take her up to the grave, throw her in, put the pipe on, and you can see the dirt falling in her face and stuff like that. But witnessing this whole thing is this small, autistic, nonverbal blonde child who is being abused by his parents. And that's like a sidebar to this whole thing because we keep going back to that. Anyway, they decide to send the ransom in, and the ransom is ignored. So in the interim, this little kid has seen all this stuff and actually had gotten into where Candy is held captive, and she managed to call the police, this and that. So he goes home and he's trying to work a phone, and he accidentally calls a deli and stuff like that. But his mother and father take him somewhere and he acts up, and they come home and his mother tells him to go get ready for bed, and when she goes in, he's trying to figure out how to call the police, and she loses her shit, and she's going to punish him. And thankfully this is off camera, because you see it off camera, it goes to dark, and all you hear is hands smacking flesh. Pretty fucking fucked up if you ask me, but it's a fucked up movie. So anyway, they're not getting any answer from the father, so they decide to cut off Candy's ear in a real scuzzy, chilling scene, because they're recording her screams, and Alan is basically making like he's going to cut the ear off. And then he actually decides to do it, and he gets punched out by Eddie. So they go to a morgue and pay a morgue attendant to cut off an ear, and basically in the interim of that, and this is where it gets sideways, Eddie gets turned on by Jesse and decides to rape her in the bathroom. So they go see the father and turn over the ear, and basically he doesn't give a shit about Candy, because he only married Candy's mom because Candy's mom stands to inherit, Candy stands to inherit $2 million when she turns of age, but if she dies, it reverts back to the mother, and he'll get $500,000, and of course, if he gets rid of mom in the interim, that's another plus. So, all right, he don't want to do it, and they decide that, all right, we got to get rid of Candy. Well, they left Alan with Candy, and when they return, Alan is basically raping Candy. Eddie beats the shit out of him because he's protective of Candy, and they decide now that the only way to do this is to rob the father. So they set the father up for a robbery by staying in his house, and Alan is raping the mother and then decides to kill her. So he comes in with this thing of diamonds, they rob him, there's a shootout, Jesse gets shot, Eddie decides to shoot Alan because Alan's a scumbag, and he runs back to basically dig up Candy, who they buried, and he says, "I will be back to get you." Well, while he turns to dig her up, he gets shot in the back and turns around to see this autistic kid standing there with the gun in his hand, and the kid shoots him again. He keels over. Then you hear the kid's mother screaming for him to come home, and you see the kid trot toward the home with the gun, and then the camera pans on the grave where you can hear Candy crying and moaning, and then you hear a gunshot and the credits roll. Pretty downbeat ending, as a lot of these 70s movies were, but this one's really sick and really sleazy. And James Whitworth, who played Jupiter in The Hills Have Eyes, has a brief appearance as a phone repairman who winds up in a fistfight with the gang. This thing was put out by Subversive DVD years ago. I don't know if anybody's got it out now. I think it's out on a Blu-ray, but if you want a top 10 sleazy film, this is definitely one to have in the collection. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you on the flip side later on this week. Until then, stay safe. What's the matter?